Hi everyone, let's take a quick look at beam cutting and linking down to the HGG beam profiling machines. I've actually provided an example model where I've placed typical notching and beam welded connections, beam to column, beam to beam, and some sort of other strange cases where you can get an idea of the best connections to use for this kind of welded connections. So the model is called HGG Beam Test. You can see here it's provided. You can get a copy of that if you like. Within that then I've placed the optimal connections really to be used for this particular case, especially if using these are just welded connections, so welded, coped, notched, weld preparations, rat holes, mouse holes, all that kind of thing. Within this model as well, I've actually placed in the browser for the connections all the my preferred kind of connections, which I'm going to refer to as we go through the example. So, and some of these connections are actually not within there, and I'm going to show you how you can download these to save you making manual additions where, because these are already available to you. So let's take a quick look at the model. So here's the model. You can see it's already fully connected with typical kind of welded coped connections. If we double click on these, you can see then the kind of connection I'm using and where it's being used. Different types and styles. Go down here and let's just take a look at the ones on the bottom section here. If we click on here, you can see I'm using a different connection as well. In this model, I've actually put all those together into HGG components, so you can pick and choose these from the library available already set up. There are some here, as you can see, beam prep weld and weld prep flange and scallops and these kind of things. These are actually available from our warehouse. So if you go to the Tekla warehouse, do a search for weld version 2016, you will see these weld prep components. You can simply click on these, download them, place them directly within your model from the Tekla warehouse, and then they will be available for you actually in the Tekla installation. So very nice. Let's take a look then at some of these connections. I'm going to delete this one first. Let's take a look. So delete that one. So no connection here at the moment. One of the nice new connections we put within Tekla is the Offshore. This is very comprehensive in what it does. It allows you to connect beam to beam welded along with all the weld preparation, scallops, web prep, everything that you need. I'm just going to put on the standard one here. So let's click on this one here and let's click on this one here. Again, it'll look at those two and put on the optimum connection, which of course, like any Tekla connection, you can go and change the radius, the required radius, allow for shrinkage, all that kind of thing. So that's already within there. Now this one here, I'm do something a little different, because in the components I've downloaded from the warehouse, we can say for example, maybe we should just want to put a weld preparation to the web. So if we click on this one here, we can say, okay, let's click on that beam, just click on the point where the weld preparation needs to be, and you can see then that's added automatically a weld preparation to the web, like so. Now you're not limited to how many of these you can put on here, so we could now say let's do the weld preparation for the flange. So we'll click on there, again select the point where it should be at, and you'll see now it's put on the weld preparation at the flange, like so. If you double click on these components, you can type in the angle, the root thickness, so all these can be changed to suit your personal preferences. The last one we can put on here, of course, then is to the scallop. So we can say, okay, let's put the scallops on there. Again, click on this beam, just on the point, it's always the typical point, and then we've added the scallops, like so. Again, any one of these can be clicked on and changed to the radius or back marks that you're looking for. Now I put on there several, let me just undo that. I put on there several components to achieve that. If you do want all those in one go, then you've got the weld prep beam here. You can simply click on that, and you can click on this, and you can then click on the point, and it will put all those three on in one go, like so, allowing you to click on one connection and modify the weld prep, the rat holes. So here you've got, for example, weld prep for the flanges, weld preps for the web, and so on and so forth. Nice and easy, allowing you to set this up exactly as you want it. So a range of components whereby you can choose the applicable one, but you never need to make any manual. If you're making manual connections or weld preparations, then the work has already been done for you. You can select them from our library, which you can download from the warehouse. Okay, so let's just take a quick look around here. Let's just take a look, for example here, let me just delete this connection. You can see this one's running through to the middle of the web. So if I'm going to put a connection here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select use the fitting. So click down here, you've got the fitting which I placed into this library somewhere. There we are, fitting. And what the fitting does, it quite simply just cuts that back to the connecting face. Then onto here we can say, okay, let's just apply, let's say, the weld prep beam, because I'm going to put on here then flange preparations, web preparations, and scallops as well. So we'll click on here, click on the point, and there you can see I've added those preparations as required. This is a nice clean way of making connections, so it saves you from going through and making any sort of manual cuts, manual preparations that you might have to do. Okay, other connections I'm using here from the library. So we've got, for example, welded column with stiffeners, welded beam to beam, weld preparation. These are just typical sort of inbuilt connections that you can use anyway. So if I click on here, you can see this is a notch connection, which I've just used very basically on this particular point. But there's nothing stopping me if I wanted to add, let's say, a web preparation on there. I could go and say, okay, let's pick up the weld preparation to the web, click on there, click on the endpoint, and then I can, to that connection, I can add on the web preparation like so. That's made that now one complete connection. So very nice. It's a way in which you can merge all these things together. Let's take a look at the top here. Which connection have I used here? So we click on this, you can see I've used welded column with stiffeners. Obviously I've got the stiffeners turned off by setting them to 0 thickness. In Tekla that actually turns those off. And then you can see there's the one set up already. Again, click on that. All the weld preparations, notches are all inbuilt within there anyway, so it's just a case of picking them up and setting them up as required, which are your typical kind of connections like so. And if you take a look on that building there, you can see I've used those all the way around. If I look at something that's more diagonal, like this one here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the offshore connection. So let's say offshore, we'll click on that one, click on this one here. So it does work in these skewed conditions as well. So the offshore connection is a very nice one to use in these sort of more non-standard type layouts. So that's a good way of doing it. One thing that came in earlier versions, version 19, is the way we can do automatic weld preparations as well. So if you are making, let's say, a manual weld and you want to do the preparations, let me show you how that works. So we've got a steel, weld, and I'll create a polygon weld, and we'll say weld this part to this part, and we'll say it goes from the end of here and it goes to this point here. So I've added a weld, as you can see. Now if I click on that weld, I'm going to change that weld into, let's say, a 10mm weld. It's of type just a sort of general fillet weld like so. We can say the angle of the fillet weld is 90 degrees, and we can modify that. And if I just turn the welds on, so you can see those on screen, and I'm going to say fast with exact with no weld mark, then you see on screen then we got the weld there like so. Now one thing we can do with the new versions, you can click on that weld and you can say, look, actually the weld preparation is automatic, and that then will automatically cut the pieces to suit the weld preparation. So there's several kind of ways in which we can place these weld preparations, backing by sort of weld preparations, mouse or scallops, that kind of thing. So there you can see I've got the welds turned on. Again, I'll just turn those off. So let's go to display, and we'll say turn those ones off there. Okay, so again, let's just repeat all that. So here we got a example model which I've connected for you. You can see the sort of connections I've used throughout there. If you double click on them, you can get an idea then of the kind of connections to use and at what point, and the settings I've used with those as well. Down here you can see then I've actually done the weld preparation with a standard sort of my own custom weld. Here we're using the offshore connection, which has got a lot of different options in there. I'm not going to speak about each one of those. And this connection here, I've built it up from using my weld tools which I've downloaded from the warehouse, the Tekla warehouse. One thing you'll notice here, it's got backing bars which I don't need, so what I'm going to say there is we'll say just go to the right one. We've got an option then for backing bars, so weld backing bars, we'll say no to that, which will turn those off. Again, you can say rat hole at top, no, turn that, so you can have the scallops at the positions that you want them only. Some really good control over what's happening with this particular connections like this. Okay, once we've got that, then we're going to then download it to the HGG Beam Profiling machine. It's a standard way of doing this. I'm just going to pick up a few pieces. These are the ones I've just done, so you can see I'm using my warehouse connection, typical connection, and of course the one I've done manually with the weld. At that point we can say okay, let's export that to NC files. I'm going to just take out the profiles. I'm actually, do you know what I'll do before I do that? What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually add some stiffeners into this. The reason for doing this is I want to turn on the contour marking, so we'll put on multiple stiffeners, and we'll say I want some stiffeners there at the nearest point, let's say of there, and I've added some stiffeners. You'll see why I've done that in a moment, but what we're going to do then is we're going to say okay, let's do a file, export that, NC files. Down for profiles, I'm going to turn on the contour marking. The contour marking will ensure then that the output shows the layout marking of how that stiffener fits to that beam. So as well as all the weld preparation information, it's also going to show the fit up information. That's what contour marking does. If we go to the options for contour marking, I can say look, we want to make sure that everything's connected to everything. We're going to turn on secondary contour marking, and we're going to say both, just so everything's on here, both, and we'll have that hard stamp as well. So we'll just say OK to that. So we'll save that. We'll say OK to that. That's fine. And then what we're going to do again is we'll just pick up these parts here. We'll say for the selected parts, create the NC data, and we'll number that. And then it will create the required NC data, which we'll then take a view at. Now, typically for detailers, you're just going to use a DSTV viewer to see the results, and that's what I'm going to take a look at first. Okay, you can see that's completed. You'll notice as well when you do that in the model, when you turn on the contour marking, it does actually show in the model where the layout lines will appear on the piece as well. So you can see those purple lines indicate where it will mark that piece in the DSTV data. So anything that requires marking, it will indicate that for you. Okay, so what we're going to do then is open up the model folder, and within here then it creates a directory which is called DSTV profiles, and that's all the profiles of the pieces we've just actually downloaded. Now if we click on this one here and we just say open with, and we'll say notepad, you can see typically what you can do normally is just view that as code, and that's not good enough. We want to check the actual results in a 3D fashion. So what we'll do is we'll then go to the HGG viewer, so pick up HGG, DSTV viewer, and then we'll point to this particular model and we'll walk through those beams and see the results. So let's say open. So Tekla structures models, it's called HGG Beam Test Model. Let's just find that one. There we are, and then we open up the DSTV profiles. We'll select all those, open them, and then we can see the results on screen. So it's a nice way then of being able to take a look at what the results are and how it's going to cope that. I actually like that in a more sort of easy to view way, but I'll turn on the edges again for you so you can spin around that and you can quickly see the results on screen and make sure that's fine for you. Let's take a look as we walk down. Again, just allows you to walk around these and view the results are exactly what you're looking for. We can see they are very nice, and that's exactly what the machine's going to cut. So again, let's just walk down. Here you can see we've got this is the contour marking. So where these pieces fit together, it's actually then drawn a line showing you then the machine will then mark the piece. You see better on the bottom view here. So you can see then the machine will actually mark where those fit up or where those pieces actually come in. Again, a simple one. That's the stiffener I added to give you an idea then of how this works for the contour marking. So the machine, as well as doing the cuts on the end of these pieces, will also mark then the layout and what the piece is and what it fits up to. So that's where the stiffener fits onto that beam. And again, some more contour marking. See at the end as well, different ones. Weld preparations at the end, web preparations, all done, ready to go. Just click through here. You can see there a more better example. This is a diagonal one, so you can see that's completed as well. It's just a good case of me being able to walk through these and view the results on screen very quickly. Again, another diagonal one, good quick look, and the final one there like so. Okay, now what happens in the factory is we take that down to ProCAM. So we go to the HGG ProCAM, then those files we've just created, we quite simply say then import those files. Again, we'll go Tekla Structures Models, take a look at that HGG one, test model, there we are, DSTV profiles, pick those up, open. The view is pretty much the same, but it allows me then to take a look at each piece in here. So if we take a look at this, we can say view in 3D. So we've got the 3D view. Let me just turn those edges off. So that's the piece there. Let me turn that solid like so, so you can see then that's the piece in ProCAM. Now ProCAM then is the link to the machine, so what you've actually seen on screen here is exactly what the machine will cut that piece. So this will be the final step when you send this down then. Again, the view is the same, but this is the software on the machine. There we are. Take a look so I can quickly just spin around. So again, if we walk down those, it's pretty much the same results, so you can see what's happening there. Okay, so let me just start again. Let me just go back to the beginning. We have a model which is set up with typical kind of conditions and components to use in what condition. Okay, with that then, if you take a look, let me just take that out there. In this model as well, if you look, we've got HGG components. We're putting the most typical kind of welded preparation connections like so, and they're available. Some of these connections are not available as standard. What you have to do for those is you go then to the warehouse, you go to weld prep components, just search for weld like so, and then you can pick those up. You'll find them there, the actual welding preparations. There's welding preparation, weld prep components as well. Within here, if you're looking to find the HGG DSTV Viewer, if you search on here as well, you can actually get access to DSTV Viewer installation from the Tekla warehouse as well. Okay, once you've got those components, you automatically they load into the model and they're available for use, and then they can be placed in as many places, parts, or where you want to put them. Again, just take a look around the model, you see where it is. Any manual welds that we place, we can automatically get the weld preparations on there, and that will download to the machine as well. So it's a simple way of being able to put the welds on and do the automatic weld preparation, which is a more manual process, but the option's there. And then when we export these, what we can say then to CNC, we say okay, file, export, NC files. We take it out just for the profiles. The DSTV plates obviously is for plated profiles. These for beams, channels, everything else. We turn on the contour marking if required. Then that will show how the pieces fit up on the machine will mark the piece to show how the pieces fit up if it has the capability to do that. If the machine has the capability to show the markup. We've done that, then we can go to the DSTV Viewer. You can open up the file and view those in 3D. This is what any user can do. This is a free software allowing you to view these pieces and check that the work you've done is correct before it goes to the next stage. The next stage being, of course, downloading to ProCAM. ProCAM is the software that sits between the machine and these files. Excuse me. So then what we do again is we just quite simply say file, open up the files. So again, go to here, HGG DSTV profiles, just say there, oops, what am I doing, sorry, file import, even that's better. There's the files, and you import those in. So only the person that sat working the machine would have this software, but this is the final step. Open that up, click on that, view it in 3D. Just expand these out so I can see it, view in 3D, and that is exactly what the machine will cut. The red being the cutting path, which I'll turn off just to keep it nice and easy for everyone, and that is exactly then what the machine will cut. Okay, so there we go, guys. If you refer to the model, you'll see things there, and in the PowerPoint I started with at the beginning as well, there's also some instructions on the latest way, sort of taking through what I've seen here. Range of components, pick them up, use them where you need to use them, linking down then to the final beam profiling machine. That's the final process. When we detail in Tekla, this is the machine that will cut the pieces. And it's important then to make sure the files are correct before they go to finally to this machine. And that then would be your final finished product, and that's what we're aiming towards. Again guys, so there we have the test model. The connections are applied for you. The components, the main ones which I would typically use, are there as well, and again you can actually download these extra ones from the warehouse. And there we go. Okay, so thank you. I hope that's been of help to you.